Morning, everybody. This is Patrick Stewart from Skycatch. Thank you guys so much for joining the webinar. We're just going to give it another minute for everybody to get joined up and get logged in. We've put a quick poll up on the screen. We'd love it if everybody could go ahead and answer that poll for us. All of our panelists are online, and we will be getting started in just a couple minutes after everybody gets logged in. Okay, I think we're good on the poll. Just get a couple more answers in there. Okay, good morning, everybody. We're going to get started. Again, for everybody that's just logging in, this is Patrick Stewart from Skycatch. Thank you so much for joining. This is the DJI drone workflows for construction professionals. This is a joint webinar with Skycatch and DJI. And I want to say thanks to DJI for sponsoring this with us and doing this joint venture. Quick run through on the agenda for today. We're going to do some quick introductions and then talk a little bit, very briefly, just about DJI and Skycatch, and then get into the heart of the webinar, the workflows that are going to be covered by our guests from Hensel Phelps and Stantec. Then we'll talk a little bit about something interesting and exciting that's coming up next, and then get into Q&A from the audience. So quick introductions, really excited and very grateful to have two industry experts here, Kevin Grover and Richard Lopez, who both head UAS operations at their respective companies. They're trailblazers, they're forward thinkers, early adopters, and they've really been setting the standard for everybody who's using drones in construction. We also have Bart Vandervoort here, who's manager for BD in the EMEA region for DJI, and myself, I run product at Skycatch. Last is Ben Popper. We're very happy to have him join us from The Verge, where he's a business editor. And Ben, you have a really unique perspective on the industry. You see things sort of very broadly. You're watching the newest trends and identifying what's coming next. And I would love it if you could share some of your insights on the state of the industry and current trends for us.
Sure, thanks for having me. So, I've been covering the drone industry for about 3 years, mostly from the consumer side, doing reviews for The Verge. But there's definitely been a real transformation over the last year, maybe 16 months, where it feels like the consumer side has rapidly consolidated around a few players, notably DJI, and the consumer business, especially this year at CES, felt very overbuilt. We've seen, some big news about layoffs at places like 3D Robotics and Parrot, failures of startups like the Lily drone from this morning. And I think that all the, big players sense that, and many are moving rapidly towards the commercial enterprise industrial market, where there's a lot of new opportunity because of, the sort of freedom and new regulations passed along over the last year by the FAA. So felt like, when I got into it, there wasn't really a commercial market to speak of, and now that seems poised to be the next big thing. So it's been a really interesting evolution over the last 18 months. And I guess talking with people also, at the beginning it seemed to a lot of people unclear what would be big. I think a lot of people felt agriculture would be the first one to break out. And having chatted with people recently and covered Skycatch and a number of other companies, it does seem like construction may be the industry that's poised to become the biggest, at least at first. I was told, in Silicon Valley they look for BBF, big, broken, and fixable. And that is something, maybe the construction industry fits that model. So I'm here as a journalist, not to endorse any of the products or companies, but just to sort of learn and maybe help guide the conversation.
All right, thank you so much, Ben. Really, really interesting perspectives, and I just love watching how things are changing and developing. It's really exciting. It's also timely. It's perfect for the content of this webinar, focusing on construction. So, Bart, we'd love it if you could just quick introduction for yourself and DJI.
Yeah. Yes, thank you, Patrick, for this. So, for those of you who don't know DJI, we are the market leader in the UAV industry with about 70% market share, and we've grown in the last 10 years from 1 person to over 7,000 today. So I'm one of those people. I'm based in Amsterdam, and I work as a business development manager specifically for B2B solutions and products. As Ben mentioned before, it's only in the last year actually that DJI has been increasing, well, with other players, but increasing its efforts for enterprise solutions. Our company has a strong focus on R&D and is now expanding its range of drones to suit demands of a variety of industries. But aside from the strong R&D, I think our company also believes in strong partnerships to grow expertise and develop new solutions, and Skycatch is such a partner for us. So let me briefly show you some of our latest models, which are mostly aimed to the professional industry. So you have the Phantom 4 Pro. We'll talk a bit more about this unit later. It's basically an upgraded version of the Phantom 4. Then the M100 is a versatile platform for developers mostly. M600 is the larger version of this that has capability of carrying more weight. Also some redundancy, which is important, I think, for example, in construction as a safety element. Then there's the Inspire 2, which is one of our most powerful drones we've developed till today. It basically takes the Inspire 1 and improves on everything. And then lastly, there's the MG1, which is a drone specifically designed for the agriculture industry. But all these drones are great, but they do need software to be optimally used. And for this reason, we are working together with specialized companies such as Skycatch. So they are experts in the construction industry. And today we want to show you something more about the combination of DJI products and Skycatch software. So I'm really excited about that.
Thanks so much, Bart. So quickly, Skycatch, our mission, deliver the most accurate data as easily as possible to our customers. The way we do that is we offer a drone image processing platform in the cloud. We have a flight app that automates DJI drones, including most of those that Bart just mentioned. It also automates our own high-precision drone. The flight app has intelligent routing, terrain following, and it's really set up for repeat data collection, which is key for the construction industry, use cases such as progress tracking. Our cloud image processing, we generate all the standard outputs such as a 2D ortho, 3D point cloud, and a 3D mesh, as well as contours, digital surface model, digital terrain model, and very importantly, we can deliver those files in any coordinate system. So we know most construction projects have one, if not multiple, localized coordinate systems. We can actually give you those outputs translated to those local systems. And the last piece of our platform is for visualization and analysis. We have a web app where it's set up for multi-site and multi-user team collaboration. There's a web viewer for both 2D and 3D, including the point cloud and the 3D mesh. You can import CAD plans, overlay them on top of the map, and compare your exact progress to your plan, and do really useful things like volume and area measurements, and export to your other tools and workflows, which is what Richard and Kevin are going to cover today. So for everybody, for all our attendees, again, thanks for signing in. And really important that we all understand that there's one important takeaway from this webinar, which is we want everybody to learn. And what we want to focus on, and we want everybody to learn, is that flying is great. It's actually really fun, and we've covered it a lot. But the value comes after you've collected. If you've collected good data, what do you do with it? How do you get the value out of it? How do you make use of it? So we're focusing today on going beyond the flying and getting into the information. So with that, I'd like to introduce Richard Lopez from Hensel Phelps, who's going to cover 2 workflows over the next 10 to 15 minutes. Richard, you can go ahead and take it away on 3D visualization for coordination.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much, Patrick. Let me tell you a little bit about Hensel Phelps. We were established in, actually, that should be 1937. So we've been around for 80 years now, and we have a national presence, about $4 billion in revenue. And the biggest thing behind Hensel Phelps, we're an employee-owned company, and we believe that we do it the Hensel Phelps way. We also have 4 pillars that we strongly believe in. It's people, process, partnership, and technology. Without that, we wouldn't be able to do the things that we're doing. And I like to look at this UAV endeavor as part of a team. We have a lot of good, talented people on staff that are involved in this process, and without that, we wouldn't be able to make a lot of this happen. So let's go to the next slide. All right, so what we're going to talk about is I'm going to kind of walk you through some workflows, low-hanging fruit. We'll go through some site utilization process to kind of monitoring your sites and different progress. Go ahead and go to the next one. All right, so the biggest challenge is right now is getting current updated information for a site. Our biggest thing is when we're looking at a new project, we usually go to Google Earth and try to find an updated image. In the past, that's worked for us, but now we have the opportunity to actually fly a UAS and capture that data. So we're getting real-time logistics of a project, of a site, so that we can communicate that to our superintendents, project managers, and owners. Let's go to the next slide. The biggest thing here before any flight operation, it's safety. You know, safety is not an option for Hensel Phelps. It's mandatory. Without having the proper safety procedures in place, we would not allow our UAS pilots to fly any of our projects. So we really take that with heart, and we pride ourselves in being safe. So how we do this is we'll, make sure we have all the safety protocols in place. We study the site, we analyze it, make sure that we have all the appropriate paperwork in place, contact the authorities, contact surrounding building owners, and make sure that we're in compliant with the FAA. Then from there, we'll pick a particular site. We'll usually take the DJI Inspire 1 with an X5 camera. We'll take that out to a job site, and then we process all that data using Skycatch. And then from there, that's where the magic happens, right? So you have all this data, what do you do with it next? We have options for TIFFs and laser scan LAS files in different formats. Go to the next slide. All right, so what happens once we fly a site and we process the images through Skycatch, we're able to take those images, download those TIFF files, they're geolocated TIFF files. We're able to bring those into Google Earth as an overlay. And then from there, we're able to grab some surrounding, site information that we're looking for. From there, we'll save that imagery out, and then we're taking it to the next step. We're trying to figure out what do we want to achieve, different goals. So right here, we're using, a program that a lot of people within the industry, architectural industry, construction industry use. It's called SketchUp. Google it, you'll find it. And the thing behind that, we're able to bring those images that we flew with our Inspire, and we're able to overlay those within this modeling software. With that, we're able to then start to overlay different site conditions. What this is helping us to do, it's helping us convey the message to our team, how we're going to build a building, how we're going to organize a site. So this really helps out by overlaying those images. And also buildings, we're able to model in this software. Go to the next slide. Okay, so once we have all that information, here's an example. We flew the site and we overlaid it. So we're asking ourselves, how do we generate this data? What do we do with it? So we're able to create screenshots, convert them to PDF, show them to the owners. But if we kind of scroll through this slide here, you're going to see that we can start to create these different phasing plans, these different sequencing of our job sites. So go ahead and click, yep. So what's going on here, we're able to establish and augment, the terrain. We're able to put in our haul routes. We're able to put in our buildings by using the updated data. So without having that initial aerial data, it would be really difficult to really plan a site. We could still do it, but what it's doing, it's giving us real-time logistics on how to plan properly and communicate. Go to the next slide. All right, so with all this data, what we're able to do, again, we use it for presentations. We're able to create those site logistics and also coordinate with our subs. Once the subs understand how we're working on a site, we then could put a schedule of work together for them so that they can plan their daily operations. So that's the biggest thing with this workflow. Let's go to the next one. All right. So now what we're looking for, so like that last slide, you want to ask yourself, what were you trying to achieve? What we were trying to achieve is communicate, that information to everyone who's working on that project. So this next workflow, what we're going to go through is taking that same data, but then taking it to a different platform, a different modeling platform within our industry. We're going to use InfoWorks. So go ahead and go to the next slide. All right, so the key thing here, we were running into a situation where trying to gather this information the old way was taking such a long time. We had to rely on traditional handheld RTK GPS systems. With the UAV, we're able to fly a site. So this particular site I'm going to show you, it takes about 2 hours to fly. It's still a long time, but it's a large site once you take a look at it. But without this technology, there is no way we could actually do this in a timely manner. It would take about a week to generate everything, but we're able to cut it down to about 4 hours total with the processing and everything. Go to the next slide. Okay, so what we have here is a site. It's a big site. What we fly it with is the DJI Inspire, and also we upload all the photos to Skycatch, and we're able to download, different formats, a TIFF file, an LAS file, an OBJ file. And with these different file formats, we're able to bring them into our modeling software. And that's where the value is for us. We have options. It's not just a picture that you go out and take a picture of it. We're actually able to use this data. It's giving us real-time information so that we can make informed decisions. Go to the next slide. All right, so here's an example. Using Autodesk InfoWorks, we're literally able to drag and drop. We're able to drag and drop the TIFF file into Google Earth once you get it set up, or excuse me, into InfoWorks once you get it set up. Once that TIFF file is in there, you could take Skycatch's LAS file that they provide for you. You're able to take that, drag and drop that in as well, and what that's doing, it's actually taking that TIFF file, it's turning it into a 3D terrain model at that point, because the TIFF file is just a 2D file, right? It's a flat surface. But by bringing it in, InfoWorks, and then overlaying it with the point cloud, the LAS file, you're able to get true terrain out of this, and that's where the value is for us so that we can understand what that site's going to look like. Go to the next slide. So what's happening here, we can analyze cut and fill. We're able to actually study the site for a water shedding tool. That's actually a pretty nifty tool. So we could actually analyze, for instance, when we have a large site, we can analyze and figure out if we have a large rainstorm or if we have snow and we have all that snow melt. We could try to understand where all that water is going to go to by using these different tools to analyze it. And it really helps the team, the superintendents and the project manager, it really helps them understand their site. Again, we could do this the old way. We've done it in the past and we've built buildings, but with this tool, it's just another tool in our toolbox. It's allowing us to get that information out really quick. Almost real-time data we're able to get out to our superintendents. All right, next slide. All right, so how do we display this and how do we get this out to our team? The biggest thing is, we have large screens at all of our job sites. We have these models displayed. We print out large format images, have those at the job site. We use those for coordination meetings. The key thing behind all this is getting this information out to the right people at the right time. So what we're trying to promote is the more we can fly a site and the more we can get these images displayed, the more people are going to use them. That's the key thing. You can't just take a bunch of photos and not show anyone anything. You need to actually make sure that they're exposed and they're out and the team is looking at everything. All right, go to the next one. I think that was it.
That's it. All right. Really good, Richard. Thank you so much. There was a ton of great information packed into that. So hopefully we'll get some questions at the end. Okay, so next, really excited to have Kevin Grover from Stantec join us. He's going to run through validating data quality and measuring volumes. And what's I guess interesting and unique to point out is Kevin is a licensed surveyor, so he has also a slightly unique perspective on this. Kevin, thanks so much for joining us, and take it away.
Not a problem. Thank you, Patrick. Thank you very much for having me today. And I'm going to kind of approach it a little bit differently from Richard's side here, is kind of getting a bit more of the data itself. As Patrick mentioned, I'm a land surveyor by trade, so of course we're overly precise with a lot of things and very concerned about data quality. So we're going to kind of get some information on some of the misconceptions of how to process data and how to use it effectively for construction applications. Go to the next slide, please. As for Stantec, we are a 22,000 or almost 23,000 person engineering, architecture, environmental service firm, pretty much worldwide now. We started in Canada. I'm actually based out of our Edmonton, Alberta office in Canada, and that's where we started our drone operations 3 years ago. We currently have a number of trained pilots in Canada as well as in the United States, and just expanding into Australia at the moment as well. So we pretty much do everything from the engineering side of things, not just for construction applications, but for pretty much all facets of design. So drones are just another tool that we've integrated into our workflows. Next slide, please. So the first workflow I'm going to talk about is how to validate data quality. Being a surveyor, I think that's important for us to realize that it's a tool and how to make that tool work effectively for us. So, sorry, next slide. So I guess the goal out of this is really how good can I say the data is in the end? When I'm talking about data, I'm talking more than just the images that come out of a drone, but an end product, whether it's the point cloud, the terrain model, surface file, that kind of thing. We need to make sure that it's going to be high quality. It's going to be relied on by end users, whether it's designers, planners, engineers, architects, construction managers. There's a lot of use cases for this data. So I think the key part to consider in this case is, is a drone even the right tool for this? I have to throw it out. No, it's a drone webinar. I just need to throw it out there. It is just a tool. When we bundle it with software and data processing solutions, that's where we need to realize the value of it when it's a practical thing to use for the applications we need. So I think the important part is for the intended purpose. There's a lot of purposes for data. Some are very mapping grade, some are very survey grade, and that's where we need to make sure we're doing the right thing along the way to get the data as precise as we need it to be. Because errors in this data can contribute to many things for design issues, earthwork distances, different payment amounts, and eventually litigation. This is all the things we try to avoid, and usually that starts with having really good data at the outset and along the construction aspect of things. Next slide, please. So I have to throw this out there being a surveyor, talking a little bit about just accuracy and precision, because these are kind of two terms that are thrown around there. So accuracy is really how close the measurement is to the true value. So this is really about how good the data actually is for where it is in the real world on the actual ground. Precision is more how close the measurements can be repeated. So just need to throw it out there that drone data on its own, when it's processed through some of these online solutions or third-party software, the data on its own is really neither accurate nor precise purely on its own. It's really good, it looks great, but when we start getting into the nuances of how it fits together and how it fits to other more accurate data in the real world, that's kind of where we need to look at it a little bit different. It needs to be constrained. Typically, this all needs to be constrained with survey ground control points or other spatial measurements to basically get that data to fit where it actually is in the real world. We can rubber sheet data, using Google Maps or basic mapping information, but that's where you lose a lot of the high-end value of the data because you're degrading the accuracy of it because you're fitting it to data that you really don't know how good it is. So this is something from the survey side that we spend a lot of time on. Next slide, please. So the big step, the first step out of the whole process is really to determine the end use of the data. I think, in a construction application, this has a lot of challenges because we don't really know who all is going to be using the data, what they're using it for. But I think these are important things to realize is who's going to be using it, what they could be using it for, and how good that data needs to be. If we're looking for data that's, I guess I'm Canadian, so I'm metric, so I'm talking about sub-centimeter, so half an inch. That's kind of where there's some real challenges to get data that accurately 100% of the time. So this is, again, where I get back to, can I get this with a drone and using photogrammetry or other LiDAR sensors that might be on some of these drones as well. Next slide. So the first step of the process is ground control, as I mentioned. These are kind of imperative. So we place these things for pretty much every project that we do because we want to make sure that the data is going to be linked to some coordinate system or some data set, and we can bring in other spatial data sources together in one environment. So multiple control points around the perimeter of the site, placed on flat ground as possible. And this is where we've got some options of what type of targets to use. So we can use it to manual target. We can use natural features. You can place some paint on the ground. Skycatch actually has some really innovative solutions for a QR code that can be printed out. So it's more of a barcoded target that'll do the automatic extraction during the process validation. Next step. The next step is to survey the location of these ground control points. So this is where I'm just showing a handheld unit here because there are different ways of measuring these things. Typically, the handheld is not going to give you anything better than what will natively come out of the drone itself. We just want to show the technology differences. But really, in the end, there's kind of a rule of thumb is the end product accuracy that we're looking for is typically 2 to 3 times less accurate than the ground control accuracy, as well as the ground sample distance of the data. So it's a combination of the two. So that's kind of the error source that we're really looking for with the data in the end. When we get into something like real-time kinematic GNSS, where Trimble, not sure, I think there was an image of this here as well, Trimble and TopCon, another type of survey equipment, has real-time kinematic GPS technology that can get survey-grade data. Total Stations is another technology and get even higher accuracy information as well. Next slide. Oh, so there's the RTK picture, and then the next one should be a total station image. Perfect. So all different ways to measure the survey control points to put them in here. As far as next steps, as Richard mentioned, we fly. So this is where we got some options, whether it's the Skycatch app for DJI. We also have the Evo 3X units from Skycatch as well. And there's, I guess, the newer DJI Ground Station Pro app as well that can be used on any equipment. So that's not going to get into the collection side of it too much at all because that's pretty straightforward in a lot of the applications. Next slide. Then we get into the processing aspect. So when we upload the data to Skycatch, or whether you're using third-party software applications as well, whether it's Pix4D or Agisoft, that's kind of where we have to get into the extraction of the ground control. So in Skycatch, they do have some automatic extraction of the barcoded targets or manual extraction, where you're basically telling the software where those images actually are using the ground control points. Typically, the workflow in Pix4D Agisoft is more manual, as it is with Skycatch for the most part, and there's some options for some automated extraction. Next slide. I think the important part to consider, this might not make sense to everyone, but this is how we have to validate the data in the end, especially when we're looking for higher precision, higher accuracy data, is we have to start looking at residual, I guess, out of the data and report this back kind of along with the information. So we've kind of developed a processing report that will follow our data. And we can start looking at some different error sources. So some of the statistical analysis is, I guess, for the entire data set, one of the good ones is RMSE value. So this really is one of the processing workflow items that come out that talks about the average difference between the measured and actual values. So for the overall data set, this is kind of a really good value to talk about how good that data is. Then we can look at residuals for each individual control point or a checkpoint. These are all necessary things we do in our adjustments as well, is we'll hold many of the control points as fixed, and then other ones will actually just use as validation points, really to make sure that the reconstruction using the photogrammetry software has worked properly. Next slide, please. So in the end out of this is, being a surveyor, this is always one of the first questions we ask is, if our data is questioned in court regarding accuracy, can we back it up? So this is kind of one of the things we need to throw out there. Is there's a lot of really nice solutions out there, including Skycatch, that everything seems fantastic. But when you do have to make sure, especially for construction applications, but it's going to be used by end people, that the processing is done properly, you're doing the workflow properly, and actually being able to validate how good it is. And again, that's where we do come back down to fitting this into ground control to have some information returned to us, just saying how good that actually is in case it does come up in court. That's what we want to avoid, but it does happen. Next slide. So next thing I'm going to chat about is a bit more one of the tools that's within Skycatch for cloud-based volume measurements. I know others may have seen some other webinars on this being functionality, but I'm going to kind of talk about the workflow and some of the things you got to look at and watch for when you're doing these things. So the big part of it is now I got this great drone data, as Richard was talking about, as well as now what do we do with it? So if I want to use it for volumetric calculations, there's some workflow that we can do in traditional software. But the problem with these things, they're big data sets, so why we want to leverage some of the cloud solutions so we can minimize downloading, converting, importing to other software, manipulating, and then kind of having some data that might be usable. So these are some things of why the cloud solutions are really some great tools that developers are building within their software. Next slide. So of course, I got to show for Skycatch, using it to manage the drone data. So on construction applications, it's a great thing to have that we can actually manage multiple projects, multiple days of collections. We can start seeing progress change over time. Annotations, data sharing, as Richard kind of alluded to many of these things, as well as these cloud platforms are a great way to just manage and share this data, this very rich 3D data, all within a web browser. Next slide. And I think this is the progress change over time. So yeah, so just it kind of shows you some of the basic functionality of Skycatch. Next one. So as far as processing requirements, kind of going back to the first part about ground control, this is always kind of one of the challenges that kind of come up is whether ground control points are actually needed for doing volumetrics. So if we're looking at doing just standalone stockpile volumetrics, you don't actually need ground control. It's not a bad thing to have because it gives you validation for it, but it's technically not needed through all the photogrammetric processing. There's a lot of research papers on it. It seems like it's kind of a magical processing solution, and it really is, but in the end you do get a data set, but it is not needed for standalone volumes. The challenge with it though is that now if you flew the site consistently day after day after day, all the data sets aren't physically going to align properly to one another because they haven't been linked to any physical features in the ground. They're kind of going to be floating around. If you were to compare like a Google Maps image with a Bing Maps image with some other open source map image, they're all going to look slightly different and overlap in a different way. So if you're going to compare dates of collection, you do need to link to ground control. Next slide, please. As far as the workflow within Skycatch, the tools are pretty simple. It's got a very, very easy to use basically polygon or polyline picking interface where you go and you pick the base of the stockpile. So the important part remembered about this is the volume that you're returning is only as good as the points you're picking. So these are some of the things we've been working with Skycatch on as well, is to get better analytic tools within the browser, and it gives you more things rather than just returning a result. You can do your pick points and you're hoping you're picking the right locations, but when you can start looking at it in 3 dimensions and validating it and getting some more reporting coming out, these are all important things I know from our side being a surveyor. So you get returned a result. Now what we need to do is make sure that that result's going to be accurate for what we need to do. Next slide. So, of course, validating results, these are just some different options. A lot of typical workflows that people have currently now, as well as you can do some rough basic calculations. So there's some very simple manual measuring tools within the Skycatch interface for doing length, just basic dimensioning. It gives you the height of the volume. So you can do some rough calculations to make sure you're close. We can check in third-party software, whether it's Civil 3D or Global Mapper or Bentley products, it really doesn't matter. These are typically workflows that people have. So we do want to do some validation, and we've done a lot of testing of it. And this, if we get some of these data returns back to us, and a best way to validate all of this, they're great tools because they all run in the browser. They're very fast, very efficient, and they're very great in construction environments because you have this ongoing volumetric process you can use. Next slide, please. Just another example of showing a volumetric calculation in third party. So out of this, I think the important part is, can I ensure the quality? Again, maybe this is the surveyor in me, is that we're always making sure that our data is going to be accurate. Can I ensure quality? But I think the big part about all of this is, again, all these instances where for utilizing these web-based applications is, how can I leverage these solutions to make my data more usable for myself, as well as my clients, or any other users along the way. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Kevin. Great workflows and information there, and really appreciate the focus on validating data quality and actually thinking about that. Excellent stuff here. So I think that wraps up going through the actual workflows. So we're going to talk briefly about some exciting things that are coming up next, and then we're going to go into Q&A. So Bart, could you tell us a little bit about the Phantom 4 Pro and what makes it so good for construction applications?
Yeah, sure. So the Phantom 4 Pro has launched just a month ago. I think it was very recently announced. It's basically a very compact unit, and the camera on the drone comes equipped with a 1-inch 20-megapixel sensor, which is a big upgrade to the previous one, and it has about 12 stops of dynamic range. It's 4K capable up to 60 frames per second, and it's great because it's very small. It also has sense and avoid in 5 directions, which is the first time that we did that, if you don't count the guidance system. And it has a long flight time, and I think another thing which is very important is the mechanical shutter, because before, if you do mapping, especially for mapping, with a rolling shutter, you could get some skewed results when you do the mapping. So this is also one of the reasons why we did a mechanical shutter, to get better results with software processing afterwards. I think,
great. Thanks, Bart. Yeah. So what we have coming up next, we're very excited to announce. It's our first bundle package with DJI. So this is the reality capture package that Skycatch and DJI are launching together. This is targeted for anybody who wants one package to get everything they need to implement the workflows that we actually just covered in this webinar and more. For the reasons that Bart just mentioned, we also agree that P4 Pro, it's just an amazing piece of equipment for construction. The safety factor with the collision avoidance, the quality of the camera is amazing. The maps and models that we've made ourselves and that our beta testers have made are just incredible. There's extremely crisp, extremely high quality, and you can get a ton of information out of them. So the bundle is a P4 Pro with the RC, 2 batteries and a carrying case, and it includes a 1-year subscription to the Skycatch Pro plan, which has unlimited 3D cloud processing, unlimited file exports, starts with 3 team member client accounts, but you can go up to 10. You can create and share annotations, volume measurements, import CAD plans, and every new feature that's going to come along and be added to that as we have new releases. So this is going to be on sale soon. Right after this webinar, there's going to be a page up on our site, skycatch.com. You can actually sign up to be notified when it becomes available. And you can also go there right now to create a free trial. And I would also add that the Skycatch Flight app now supports the Phantom 4 Pro. You can download that in the iOS App Store today. Works on iPhones and iPads. The last thing that's coming up next is our next webinar. Just a quick plug so everybody knows. We do have another webinar coming up in the next 1 to 2 months. We're going to be covering workflows for aggregates. So related but slightly different use cases. We've got some really amazing guests that are going to join us for that. Another set of trailblazers from the industry. Tons of good information coming there. And we'll also be joined with DJI on that. So you can go ahead and learn more about the reality capture package at skycatch.com right after this webinar. We'd love to have everybody sign up, and we will let you know when it's available. With that, let's roll into Q&A. So Ben, it would be amazing if you could kick us off on the Q&A with maybe a couple questions for our panelists. And then after that, we'll roll into, we've been collecting all the questions from the audience. Thank you guys for sending those in throughout.
Sure. So I guess what I'd be interested to know is, I've seen what feels like a convergence between companies that started out in the consumer side, the prosumer side, and now are moving into enterprise industrial. And I've even seen people who started in enterprise industrial putting out, sub $1,000 camera quads that they want under the Christmas tree. So I guess I'm curious, if people see that as the future, sort of converging on this, very powerful unit that can swing both ways, or if you feel like, as the commercial side of things gets more serious, we'll see a whole class of drones that are, specifically meant for, these enterprise tasks and, aren't really accessible to consumers at all.
Shall I? So this is Bart from DJI. So my perspective on this from DJI is that definitely we're looking at an evolution where units will be more designed specifically for certain industries. It's already happening. We're doing this today, and I can see from what we're building towards the future that this will only be increased. So yeah, for sure, I think it's going to be much more specific for different industries, for commercial applications.
Yep, and this is Richard Lopez with Hensel Phelps. I definitely see a specialized unit for the construction industry. If you think about it, we have a unit flying over a construction site. So if we have a small unit that is durable to withstand, during certain wind conditions, certain dust conditions, because a lot of the times when we're working on a job site, we've excavated. So we have a lot of dirt. So we need something that's just durable, something small and safe to fly over a job site.
Interesting. And I guess, another thing that had sort of jumped out at me was this idea that, from talking with folks who are moving into the enterprise side of things, that the construction industry was more ripe for this kind of disruption than areas where people maybe had previously thought they would be big, for example, agriculture. And that's because in certain ways, agriculture is protected by subsidies and by insurance, whereas construction they felt was something extremely competitive, where there are often cost overruns and the margins are very low. If you could maybe talk about that a little, just in what ways you feel that the construction industry is sort of ripe for, the disruption that a drone can bring in terms of, increased efficiency through this very data-rich mapping and, planning.
All right, so this is Richard again with Hensel Phelps. Definitely with this disruption, with this new market, the key thing behind it is safety. So what's happening is we're definitely having a lot of people come knocking on our doors wanting to fly our job sites. The key thing behind that is we need to make sure that they have the proper insurance and they're able to fly. We're not going to just let anyone fly on one of our job sites. They have to have hours, similar to manned aircraft. So we're actually taking that model, that approach internally, is we're looking at this as a manned aircraft operation and just scaling it down to the UAVs. So all the protocols that a manned aircraft has in place, we're taking those and just scaling them down to make sure that we're flying safe. But it's definitely it's going to make an impact because what we're doing is we're providing information really quick to the team, and that's the key thing. As long as we're able to get that information to the people that are making the decisions, they're able to plan and kind of view their site on a daily basis.
Which also increases safety, I guess.
Correct.
Definitely. So, and this is Kevin Grover from Stantec. I'll kind of chime on this as well. So I definitely think there's a lot of applications, kind of immediate applications for construction right now. I'm in Canada, but we're running a program in the US as well. The new Part 107 rule has really opened up a lot of more use cases to make it more accessible on smaller project sites. I think that's kind of the important part as well, where drones still have a really niche market to fit on. I still call them small sites, but comparatively to the agricultural market, I know up in my neck of the woods, our agriculture industry is huge. Until we get past some of the regulatory hurdles for beyond visual line of sight, some larger systems, that kind of thing. That's really where the ag market is really going to advance, is once we can get past some of that. Construction has a lot more immediate applications where you can use it, but I do agree with Richard as well as the safety is a huge thing for us. We're constantly vetting sub-consultants on any of our projects, and I do agree that we're treating it a bit more like a manned aviation platform as opposed to drones, just because we need to make sure they're operated safely and legally.
Great. So I don't have any more questions. I think we were going to throw it to the audience now and see if folks who are listening in could maybe get a chance to talk to the panel.
Yeah, so I'm going to go ahead and we've been collecting questions throughout. And thanks for that, Ben. Really great questions and interesting answers there. So the first question is, I'm a BIM manager at a medium-sized construction company, and we are trying to decide between training and certifying our own staff or hiring an independent pilot to fly for us. Given your experience, what would you recommend? And I'll ask Richard and Kevin if you guys could weigh in on this one, please.
All right, I can start off. This is Richard. The key thing you have to ask yourself is how much do you want to invest in this? Because you need to make sure you have insurance to cover anything that could possibly happen, and then also make sure that you have the appropriate people trained. I mean, there's plenty of good websites out there. We used a site internally, Remote Pilot 101, to actually train our pilots. Great information, enough information to get them going, but also it takes you need times behind the stick to make sure that you're able to fly safely and fly one of your projects. But it comes down to, what do you want to do? Are you just taking it just for photographs for the owner? Is it photographs for marketing? If it's something like that, I would just probably hire someone out to go fly your sites and document it. But if you're truly going to utilize the data and bring it in-house and bring it into your modeling software, I would consider doing it internally, but make sure you have your staff appropriately trained and you have all the safety protocols in place.
Thanks, Richard. That's great. Really interesting. Kevin, do you have any thoughts on this?
For sure, yeah. We struggle with this in our company as well too. We're being 23,000 people and 400 offices worldwide. It's something we would love to have drones in every office, but we realize it's just not going to be viable. So really, from our side, we're trying to tackle the things that we know are, I wouldn't say low-hanging fruit, but the things that we have a lot of more knowns with the results that we're going to be achieving. So we've been trying the technology for a long time, and really that's what it kind of comes down to, is you do have to give it a shot. You might be best off trying a couple of projects with a sub-consultant right off the bat to kind of get your feet wet, figure out what you can and can't do with them, because, as Richard mentioned, there's a lot more to it than just buying the drone. Especially when we start looking at these, not just DJI equipment, other systems in the market. That's just one cost. Once you start factoring in training time, insurance, and the flight hours, and just giving it a shot on projects, you'll do a lot of pro bono work along the way. So I think that's just something you got to kind of decide as a company if it's a business model you can actually fund and work on, or give it a try with a couple of partners to start with to see where you go.
Oh, great. Thank you so much, Kevin. Okay, so the next question, also for Richard and Kevin, is how do you use UAVs and Skycatch for the earthworks component of your construction projects? And they give an example such as determining the extent of soil deficits or surpluses.
For sure, I can kind of jump on that since I talked about the
Great.
volumetric side. Yeah, the volumetric tools within the web platforms all now are just kind of in their infancy. So to be honest, it actually is just like doing a standalone stockpile. So it's not comparing two surfaces just yet. It is just doing a single volume measurement of an area. So you trace a polyline, that's what it uses as a base pile, and then calculating volumes from there. So the web interface itself has really good tools for that purpose, but the other benefit of processing in Skycatch or other third-party software, but particularly Skycatch, you can download the data directly to your design tool of choice. So if you're a company that uses Civil 3D or any of the Bentley products or Esri, whatever, they're all downloadable formats. They're all basically importable to any of your design tools, and you can use your typical volume calculations at that point. More of the tools will hopefully be built into the browser in the future, but right now it's I wouldn't say limited, but it's fit for a certain purpose.
Thanks, Kevin. That's great. Richard, if you have any insights on that.
No, I think Kevin nailed it. He did a great job.
Okay, great. Well, actually, the next question is for you, Richard, which is an audience member asked, could I use the TIFF and point cloud file in Revit to make the terrain like the one you mentioned that you do in InfoWorks?
As of now, no, because what's happening within InfoWorks, it's actually draping that image over the point cloud file, and that's the reason why we use InfoWorks to actually accomplish that. But you can export that kind of image, that automated augmented terrain. You can export that out to an FBX and bring that into Navisworks or something like that, and we've done that in the past, or Synchro. You're able to take that data into other programs, but the best platform is InfoWorks to do that.
Got it.
Yeah,
thanks, Richard.
So
Okay,
this is I just kind of want to add one thing to that too. I think the one word of caution, I guess, about this as well is Revit can only handle a certain terrain file size as well, and those are some of the considerations to look at. As these terrain models can get quite large just because they're heavily detailed. So typically the amount of data in some of these terrain files are quite a bit for Revit to even handle to begin with, because I can't remember, it's got a certain polyface count for a maximum number of triangles it could even handle in a surface. So just something to look at.
Thanks, Kevin. Good tip there. Okay, so the next question was, I guess this is for me, but it asks, does Skycatch do the 3D model for you? Do you have to port the data to other software? And the answer is yes, we do generate the 3D mesh. We do offer a web viewer to view it on your browser, and you can also get a public share link to send that to the rest of your team or an owner, and they can view that without needing a login. Next question, Kevin, right back to you. The audience member is asking, how was your accuracy report generated?
So that accuracy report is just something that we do ourselves. Out of more of the desktop applications you can actually get, they've got some reports that do come out of there. Some of them we've been working with Skycatch on as well, as to get some more reporting functionality directly out of the web platform as well. So it's coming. You can get some basic reporting functionality back, like the simple residual information to ground control. Then you just have to format it your own. But ideally, we'll have something that's going to be built right in the Skycatch platform. So a little bit of pressure back on Patrick there to him and his team to get that for us. But right now, we just kind of made that up. You can always do your manual QA as well. Again, being all exportable file formats, you can do whatever residual information you can afterwards as well.
Yeah, no, Kevin, thanks for bringing that up, and that is in work, and certainly your partnership on developing that has been extremely helpful. So that will be coming up as a release for our software. So next question is for Bart. The question is a Phantom 4 Pro a better fit than Inspire 1 or 2 for construction use cases?
Well, I would say so, yes, actually, because it's I mean, they're all easy out of the box units, but the Phantom 4 Pro is better, I think, because of the mechanical shutter, because you will get a better result, I believe, when you do mapping. It's smaller. It also has a sense and a void on every angle, which is also great. Again, we've talked about safety, and this is a big element for construction. So at this point, I would actually go for the Phantom 4 Pro. Yes.
Yeah, and piggyback on that, I would agree with you. I think the portability is a big benefit, and I think it fulfills the large majority of construction use cases perfectly. And even just being smaller and having that amazing camera gets you 90%, 99% of the way there. So we love it.
Exactly, and the price I think is also reasonable for the
Yes.
value that you're getting. So yeah, I think it does a job for sure.
Yep, for sure. Okay, next question's for Ben. And the question is the trend in hardware going from consumer to industrial being driven by demand or by manufacturers that have had to concede the consumer space to DJI?
I mean, I think it's a little bit of both. I think if you look at what's going on with Parrot and Unique, it's clear that they see there are very difficult margins in the consumer space. Essentially, you're sort of trying to straddle this line between something that's a tool and a toy, and as soon as you get down into the toy space, there's a million copycats. So I do think some people are moving into the commercial enterprise space because the consumer side of things has become so dominated by DJI because it's so difficult. You can read about that in Parrot's most recent financial statement, where they announced they were laying off a lot of folks from their drone division. But I also think that part of it is just, with the FAA and Part 107, the commercial opportunities now are much easier. It's much more accessible. You don't need a pilot's license. You don't need this special FAA exemption. So I think a lot of people are starting to roll this stuff out, maybe on a trial basis only or for the first time. And so, that's driving demand.
Great, thanks, Ben. Okay, next question is asking about CAD outputs and imports. So the question is, almost all of my clients are CAD users and want to deal with data of a manageable size and the software that they know well. So for Kevin and Richard, how do you work with getting the data out of Skycatch and into various CAD software?
For sure, I can maybe tackle that. This is Kevin again. Yeah, no, this is something we're a huge Autodesk shop. We use all flavors of the Autodesk products for sure. So basically, being all spatial import formats, they do all get imported into whatever design tool you need. Basic AutoCAD that has some limitations. Civil 3D has the functionality to bring in like the surface formats. The point cloud data sets can be read into Autodesk Recap. And the image files can come in through, I guess, again, through Civil 3D and through the map extension to bring them in that way, being the geospatial TIFF files. So they are all easily readable, I'd say much more so into like the Civil 3D product, rather than say just basic vanilla AutoCAD. But again, yeah, they're all importable formats if you're used to Civil 3D design. You should have no issue trying to bring the data sets in that way. You have to basically extract features from it in more of a manual way, but again, it's a surface file. You can create a surface definition and create contours, slope models, etc. So it operates just like another Civil 3D entity.
Yep, good stuff. Thanks, Kevin. Richard, do you have any other things to add to that?
No, that's where we that's where we get most of our value from, is actually being able to import those into our different CAD products. So yeah, there's tremendous value there. You could augment them, just as Kevin mentioned. And manipulate them. Again, the key thing would be file size. Just kind of take that into consideration. But no, it's a great platform.
All right, great. Thanks, guys. So we have 2 minutes left. This might be the last question here. This came after Kevin's workflow. Audience members asking about accurate georeference data, and they're asking your opinions on using GCPs or using drones with RTK or any other post-processing capabilities. When is the right time to use each? Does one complement each other or replace each other? How do you guys think about those things?
Yeah, definitely. So we actually have both. So we've got fixed wing systems that don't have RTK. We've tried the ones with RTK. We've got multi-rotors, the Skycatch units. We've got a number of the Evo 3X units with it's not RTK but post-process kinematic. To be honest, I think to us, we still do need a certain level of ground control no matter what. And again, maybe that always comes back to just the surveyor side of us, is we need to have confidence in the results. So for us just to trust one solution isn't going to be enough. So you can definitely get away with how many ground control points are actually needed if you do go to a PPK or an RTK solution. But I'd say that you would never be able to fully eliminate them. And again, that's just where we get back to when you get this data set, even if you did process something with RTK, you're just going to get a data set back. We still need to do some sort of boots on the ground validation. And I think it's just best practice overall that you would still do some level of validation. There's a lot of issues with just the RTK, PPK data sets because it does rely on really accurate GPS, good satellite coverage, great timing, shutter synchronization between your camera and your autopilot. So there's a lot more things that go on when you start doing it that way. In the end, you still get a very similar result. But I think the important part is that you still got to do your checks and balances. But I would never, personally, I would never fly just with an RTK solution without having some sort of validation on the ground. We can limit it, but we need some.
Awesome. All right. Thanks, Kevin. Yeah, and I would add that Skycatch does have a post-processing solution for our drone, and it's important to note that we're actually working closely with DJI to bring that technology to their platform. So they have some amazing platforms such as the M100, M600, and that's going to be part of one of our upcoming webinars as well. So please stay tuned. We're really excited to start talking more about that. Okay, so we're out of time here. I'm sorry that we couldn't get to all the questions. There's a bunch of really amazing questions in there. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining in, from the audience members. Thank you, DJI, for partnering with us on this webinar. And Ben Popper, thank you for joining us and bringing your interesting perspective on the industry and the trends. And finally, thank you so much to Richard and Kevin for imparting us with your really, really useful knowledge. That's it. Thanks, everybody, and we will see you on the next one.
Thank you.
Perfect. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Hi, everybody.